In this video, we're going to be taking a look at estimating with two-digit divisors. Now you'll need to have your Go Math book out and turning to page 79 along with your math journal. Now, the essential question that you need to answer, that we're going to need to answer throughout this video, is how can you use compatible numbers to estimate quotients? Now let's take a look at the top of page 79, and it says connect. You can use estimate quotients using compatible numbers that are found by using basic facts and patterns. Okay, so you can see at the top there, 35 divided by 5 is 7, 350 divided by 50 is 7, 3,500 divided by 50 is 70, and 35,000 divided by 50 is 700. That's right at the top of page 79 in your Go Math book. Now the pattern that we see at the top is that the number of zeros in the quotient is found by subtracting the number of zeros in the divisor from the number of zeros in the dividend. Okay, so we can take a look at that. Now, step one, let's take a look at unlocking the problem. First of all, let's read it. The observation deck of the Willis Tower in Chicago, Illinois is 1,353 feet above the ground. Elevators lift visitors to that level in 60 seconds. About how many feet do the elevators travel per second? Now, we have the problem of 1,353 divided by 60. Okay, now step one is we need to use two sets of compatible numbers to find two different estimates. Okay, so what we do is we want to take a look at the two numbers that are farthest to the left there, two greatest numbers here, 1 and 3. And we think about 13 divided by 6. What is the closest compatible number to 13 that can be divisible by 6? Okay, and that's going to give us 12. After we do that, we change the rest of the digits to zeros. So we have 1,200 divided by 60. Another number that we can do, take in that 13, okay, and what is the next closest compatible number of 6 that's closest to 13? I'm sorry, to 13 that's closest to 6, or compatible with 6, I should say, and that is 18. Okay, so we change that 13 to 18, drop down our zeros, keep that 60 the same. Now when we start dividing, we take that 12, divide that by 6. We know 12 divided by 6 is 2. Okay, and then we have 120 divided by 60. Okay, we could subtract the zeros here. So 1 0 minus 1 0 is going to still give us 2. Okay. However, when we take the 2 zeros minus 1 0, okay, it's going to be a little bit different. So still divide 12 divided by 6 first of all. That's going to give us 2. Then we have 2 zeros, subtract from 1 0 within my divisor. Okay, and we still have 1 0 left over, and that's going to give us 20. Okay, let's take a look at 1,800 divided by 60. First thing we do, we take the compatible numbers. 18 divided by 6 is going to give us 3. Then we know that 180 divided by 60, okay, whenever we have zeros here, first do the compatible numbers. That's going to give us 3. 18 divided by 6 will give us 3. Subtract the zeros in the dividend. Okay, take the zeros in the dividend, subtract it, okay, with the zeros in the divisor. That gives us 0. Okay, so no zeros after 180 divided by 60. However, if we take 1,800, you can just see the steps here. Divide that by 60. Okay, compatible numbers, 18 divided by 6 is 3. Okay, you take the zeros in the dividend, you subtract it from the divisor here. Okay, 2 zeros minus 1 0 still gives us a 0 left over, giving us 30. Okay, so from this estimated answer, we take the elevators travel about 20 to 30 feet per second. Okay, the more reasonable estimate, okay, would be 1,200 divided by 60. And why do we know that? We know that because 1,200 is closer to 1,353 than 1,800 is. Okay, you can see we just decreased that number by about 100, about 150, and then to get to 1,200. However, to get to 1,800, we had to increase it roughly about 450. Okay, so the observation deck and the Willis Tower travel about, we could say, about 20 feet per second. I want you to fill that in on page 79. Okay, let's take a look at the example problem on page 80. Okay, we can read. I want you to read through that, and then let's work through it together. Okay, now we have the problem of $650 divided by 18. Okay, now that 18, whenever we have a two-digit one here, that's not even like we had over here. We had 60, that made it pretty easy. But this is not an even number. It's going to be a little bit tricky to find a compatible number for that. So we're just going to round it. Okay, so 18 rounded to the nearest 10 is going to be 20. Okay, so now we have 600 divided by 20, and we can find a compatible number here. Okay, so 2 and 6, they're compatible numbers. So we change that 650 to 600 now. So we have 600 divided by 20 equals 30. Okay, so we could do that. Or something else that we can do, all right, we can even round it up to the next compatible number. 800 divided by 20 equals 40. Now another trick, whenever you're dividing with zeros, you can just cross out a zero in the dividend, but you have to cross out a zero in the divisor. Okay, now there's also a zero in the dividend here, so we did 6 divided by 2 gave me 3, and then just tack on that extra 0 for 30. Okay, same thing over here. We can cross out a 0 in the dividend as long as we cross out a 0 in our divisor. Okay, we have 1 0 left over because we can't cross any more out in my divisor. 8 divided by 2 gives me 4, and then tack on that 0 at the end. Okay, so we could see that Miriam can spend about $30 to $40 each day. Let's write that in right in your book on page 80. Now, thinking about that question there, given Miriam's situation, which estimate do you think is the better one for her to use, and explain your reasoning? Okay, Miriam should use the estimate of $30. Okay, the reason for that, because 40 times 18 equals 720, and she does not have enough money to spend $40 a day. Or we could even see that 600, you can see, is a lot closer to 650 as opposed to 800. Okay, we only changed that 600, that 650 by $50. We changed 650 by $150 when we change it to a compatible number of $800. Okay, taking a look at the share and show section at the bottom of page 80. Okay, we have 154 divided by 22. Okay, so we're going to use compatible numbers to find the two estimates. Okay, so what we can do, we want to round that divisor to the nearest 10. That's giving us 20. Then we need to look at that 15 and think of a number that's close to 15 that's compatible with 2. Okay, that's 14. Then change that 4 to a 0. Now we divide. Okay, we can cross out a 0 in the dividend, cross out a 0 in our divisor. Now we just have 14 divided by 2. You can see here is going to give us 7. So let's write 7 in there. Now, if we're changing this to the 20 still, and we rounded that, or we changed that 15 to the compatible number of 16, okay, we can still 160 divided by 20. You cross out a 0 in the dividend. If you can cross out a 0 in the divisor, you can do that. And then you take 16 divided by 2. Don't need to worry about the zeros anymore, giving you a grand total of 8. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. We have 291 divided by 33. You want to round that 33 to the nearest 10, giving you 30. You look at the 29, you think about the closest number to 29 that's compatible with 3, and that's 27. or a close number, I should say, not just the closest. If we're doing 2, we can find the 2 closest, okay? So 27, we change that 29 to a 27, change that 1 to a 0. Now we have 270 divided by 30. If we have a 0 in the dividend and a 0 in the divisor that we can both cross out, we can do that, getting rid of our zeros. And then we have 27 divided by 3 giving us 9. Now another thing that we can do is change that 291 to 300, keeping that 33 at a 30 there. Okay, we can cross out a 0 in my dividend, cross out a 0 in the divisor, and then just simply divide the compatible numbers. 30 divided by 3 giving us 10. Now what I want you to do for this next one, I want you to pause the video. You want to use compatible numbers to find 2 estimates, and when you're finished you can press play and I will have the answer for you. So pause the video now. Okay, you should have had 2,400 divided by 60 and 1,800 divided by 60. You should have had 40 for one answer and 30 for the other answer. Okay, I want you to look at the on your own problems. I want you to use compatible numbers to find 2 estimates. And when you're finished with this, you can press play and I will have the answer for you. So pause the video now. Okay, you should have had 360 divided by 40 equaling 9 and 400 divided by 40 equaling 10. The most reasonable estimate would be the 400 divided by 40. And why is that? Because we only changed that 396 by 4. We only increase it by 4 as opposed to decreasing it by 36 with a 360. Okay, I want you to work through this problem, 232 divided by 28. When you're finished with this problem, you can press play and I'll have the answer for you. So pause the video now. So you should have had 240 divided by 30 equaling 8 and 210 divided by 30 equaling 7. Okay, I want you to work through this problem, 5,821 divided by 71 at your seats. And when you're finished with it, you can press play and I'll have the answer for you. So pause the video now. Okay, you should have had the answers of 80 and 90. 5,600 divided by 70 gives me 80. Remember, you can cross zeros out as long as you can do one with the dividend and divisor. Okay, cross these zeros out and then simply divide. 56 divided by 7 gives me 8 and then tack on the 0. 36 divided by 7 gives you 9 and then tack on the 0. Okay, I want you to do this test prep problem at the bottom of page 82. When you're finished with this problem, you can press play and I will have the answer for you. So pause the video now. Okay, the answer is letter C, 30. Make sure you check your answer and you have the correct answer. And wrapping up the video, we're going to take a look at the essential question. How can you use compatible numbers to estimate quotients? I want you to write this down in your notes. I can round the divisor to a multiple of 10, and I can round the dividend to the nearest multiple of the new divisor. Then I can use a basic division fact pattern of zeros to complete the estimate. So this concludes the video on estimating with 2-digit divisors. If you have any questions about this concept, please come and see me.